Ronaldinho's journey went from being the world's top player to leading the most perilous football team in South American prisons, all due to his devastating addiction that destroyed his life. However, it wasn't always this way for Ronnie. He had lofty aspirations and goals to escape the hood since his family meant the world to him, and he was willing to do whatever it took to keep them content, even at the expense of his own life. Ronnie and his family had a rough life growing up in the most hazardous areas of Porto Alegre in Brazil. The streets of Porto Alegre in Brazil were infested with gangsters, criminals, and drug lords, making it an unsafe place to raise a family. Even Ronaldinho's parents were aware of this fact. His father, João Moreira, was a former professional footballer himself who had to work as a welder to support his family, while his mother, Miguelina de Lassi, started her career as a makeup artist before becoming a nurse. Despite their hard work, they struggled to make ends meet and could only afford to live in a ramshackle wooden house. Nonetheless, Ronaldinho was determined to make his family happy and uplift them from poverty, even if it meant risking his own life. Ronnie understood the weight of responsibility on his shoulders as his family pinned their hopes on him and his younger brother Roberto. Despite their financial struggles, football remained the glue that bound them together, as it did for most Brazilian families. The trio spent their days playing the game in their backyard or on the street with smiles on their faces. However, it wasn't long before Ronnie realized that his children had a natural talent for the sport and could follow in his footsteps to become professional players. However, a significant obstacle stood in his way. He couldn't afford to buy football boots for his kids. With tears in his eyes, he had to lie to them, telling Roberto and Ronnie that playing without shoes was actually better for becoming the best footballer on the planet. Unbeknownst to them, this turned out to be a blessing in disguise, as they trained relentlessly without shoes. On days when he had to work, he would rush home immediately just to join his boys in their training sessions. Roberto's skills were so impressive that even the local clubs in Brazil couldn't ignore him. Word began to spread, and scouts started to take notice. They would say, "We have to check out this kid Roberto. He's got something special. Let's give him a trial." A few months later, Roberto had made it through the trials and secured a spot on a professional team. This was a monumentous occasion for the family. It was the happiest day of their lives. Roberto's success brought a wave of positive change into their lives, including a new home in the city with luxuries like a swimming pool. Their lives had transformed at that time. After years of hard work and dedication, Roberto had finally made it as a professional footballer and was able to provide for his family. To celebrate, he threw a party on his 18th birthday, but the joyous occasion was short-lived. Upon returning home from training, he discovered that his father, Yahoo, had suffered a heart attack after falling into the pool. An ambulance was called, and Yahoo was rushed to the hospital, leaving the family in a state of shock and uncertainty. The doctors had made a promise to do everything they could to save their father, but unfortunately, it was a promise they couldn't keep. As they walked out of the emergency room, they delivered the devastating news that their father didn't make it. This loss hit Roberto, Ronnie, and their mother Miguelina hard, but it also became a turning point for Roberto. He channeled his anger and disappointment into a fierce determination to make it as a pro for his father's memory and started dominating on the field. Roberto's performance on the field was exceptional as he led his team to 3 league titles. His talent didn't go unnoticed, and Brazil was looking for the next set of football stars to represent the nation. Roberto's coach couldn't wait to break the news to him the following day at training. "Roberto, you've just been called up to the national team." It was a dream come true for Roberto, as he now had the chance to make his family proud and represent his country on the biggest stage. The thought of his dad was never far from his mind. In his last game before joining the national team, Roberto played with extra passion and dedication, dedicating the game to his late father. Despite the emotions he felt before the game, he was quickly brought to tears of pain when he suffered a career-ending injury just a few minutes into the match. It wasn't just his knee that was broken, but also his chance of representing his country on the national team. This devastating news was a major blow to his family, who had been hoping for so much more. In the face of devastating news, Roberto came up with a plan to salvage their future. His dad had taught him everything he knew about football, and now he was a pro. but his dad also taught his younger brother Ronnie before he passed away. Although Ronnie was only 8 and still a child, Roberto believed that with proper training, he could be the one to save their family. So he dedicated himself to coaching and mentoring Ronnie for the next few years, focusing on various aspects of the game, from juggling and free kicks to finishing drills and dribbling. They worked tirelessly, honing Ronnie's skills and preparing him for a future in football. After witnessing Ronnie's remarkable performance, Gurmil offered him a spot at the academy. This was a turning point for the family as they saw a glimpse of hope once again. With Gurmil's guidance, Ronnie's talent flourished, and soon he became a rising star in Brazil. His skills caught the attention of top clubs from around the world, and it wasn't long before he signed his first professional contract. As Ronnie's career skyrocketed, he never forgot his roots and the sacrifices that his family made for him. He made sure to take care of them and even bought his mom a new house, just like his brother Roberto did before him. Years later, when Ronnie was accepting his Ballon d'Or award, he knew his dad and Roberto were looking down on him, proud of what he had achieved. And he also knew that none of it would have been possible without their love and sacrifice. After signing with Grêmio, Ronnie quickly rose to fame in Brazil over the course of 4 years. He scored goals and made assists, but his dribbling skills were particularly captivating. Fans and scouts flocked to the stadium on match days to watch him play, and he was soon catching the eye of national team scouts just as his brother had done years earlier. Ronnie's skills were on full display in the Content Cup, where he was offered a spot on the national team and ultimately won the award for Best Player of the competition. Roberto called Ronnie on the plane ride back home and shared the news with him. "Ronnie, there's a club in Europe that's interested in you. They need you, man. Grêmio's great, but in Europe, you can finally fulfill Dad's dream of playing in the Champions League," he said. Ronnie's only thought was making his dad proud from above, so in 2002, when PSG offered him a 5-year deal worth $5 million, he didn't hesitate to sign right away. Initially, Ronnie struggled to make it to the first team and was mainly on the bench. After a few initial struggles, Ronnie found his rhythm and started scoring in 4 consecutive games, endearing himself to the fans. However, the PSG coaching staff noticed something unusual about him. He couldn't stop dancing. Initially, they thought it might have been his way of adjusting, but the problem only worsened with time. Dancing became a major issue for Ronnie. PSG had put Ronnie up for sale due to his unprofessional behavior, which involved skipping training and partying across Paris. However, despite the setback, Ronnie had become a global superstar after his involvement in Brazil's 2002 World Cup win. Real Madrid, Manchester United, AC Milan, and Inter Milan were all vying for his signature, but Ronnie had only one club on his mind, Barcelona. This was because his dad was a huge fan of the club, and Ronnie didn't want to hurt him by signing with another team. So on decision day, he and his brother Roberto signed with the Spanish Giants, giving Ronnie the chance to fulfill his dream of becoming the best in the world. At Barca, he was given the freedom to express himself, and he didn't disappoint. He was sensational. He had a chance for a fresh start and to continue playing at the highest level, but things didn't go as planned. Ronnie was struggling with injuries, and he just couldn't find his form. Milan's coach Carlo Ancelotti was patient with him and tried to help him as much as he could, but Ronnie's partying habits caught up with him again. He was missing training sessions and showing up late for team meetings. The club couldn't tolerate it anymore, and Ronnie was released from his contract after just 2 seasons. Ronnie was devastated. He felt like he had let down everyone who believed in him, especially his dad. He didn't know where to go or what to do, but he didn't give up. He started to work on himself and his addiction. He went to rehab and came out a changed man. He wanted to play football again, but he knew he had to prove himself to the world once more. And then, out of the blue, he got a call from his former teammate David Beckham. "Ronnie, I know you had a tough time, but I've got an opportunity for you. I'm starting a new team in America, and I want you to be a part of it." Beckham was putting together a team in Miami, and he wanted Ronnie to be a star player. Ronnie couldn't believe it. He was getting a second chance, and he wasn't going to waste it. He moved to Miami and started training hard. He was determined to show the world that he still had what it takes to be the best, and he did just that. He led the team to the playoffs in their first season, and he was named the league's MVP. Ronnie was back and he was better than ever. But what was even more important to him was that he was happy. He wasn't partying anymore. He had found peace in his life, and he was grateful for the people who had helped him along the way. And most of all, he knew that his dad was proud of him. He had fulfilled his dad's dream, and he had done it his way. Yo go Benito. At the start, Ronnie struggled to overcome his inner demons and found himself unable to quit drinking even while playing for Milan. Eventually, the club decided to release him after only a few months. Ronnie then moved around different clubs in Brazil, but found it hard to stay motivated, especially since his dad wasn't around to see him play. Finally, in 2015, he retired from professional football, which marked a turning point in his life. With no income, Ronnie began living off of his savings, which he quickly depleted by partying and drinking excessively. His finances were in shambles and he was in debt. However, drinking helped him forget about his dad, at least for a little while. All that changed, however, when he almost caused a national tragedy by crashing his car while heavily intoxicated. People saw a broken man who desperately needed help. To make matters worse, it wasn't long before the authorities uncovered Ronnie's involvement in shady business deals and outstanding debts that amounted to millions of dollars. With only $7 in his bank account, Ronnie had no means to pay off his debts. He was brought to court, and all of his assets, including his passport, were seized. Ronnie was trapped and unable to leave the country. Roberto and Ronnie's plans to use fake passports to leave the country ended up ruining their lives. They got arrested at the airport, and Ronnie was sent to prison for almost 5 years. But in prison, Ronnie found love, and his hopes and dreams were reignited. He even captained his team and demonstrated good behavior, leading the judges to consider letting him out on one condition. Ronnie's friends, including Samuel Ito, helped him post a $1 million bail, and he was released under house arrest. Determined to turn his life around, Ronnie made some big changes. He got sober and started a rap studio, creating his own brand of organic gin, and even secured a video game deal. After he turned his life around, Ronnie decided to make a movie about his journey. During filming, he thought of his dad, but this time, he knew his father would be proud of him. Ronnie was living his life on his own terms and not to please others. As the director called out, Ronnie raised a glass of R1 and toasted to his dad.